Coming up on This Week in Trump. A haunted prison gets a second chance. South Africa gets unsolicited foreign policy advice from America's least qualified ambassador. And Qatar gifts a presidential jet like it's Oprah's favorite things. We've got conspiracy, chaos, and a Qatari 747-8. Buckle up, because reality just filed for bankruptcy.
So imagine this. You wake up in 2025 thinking, maybe, just maybe, today will be the day we all collectively calm the hell down. But instead, your phone buzzes with a notification that reads, Trump announces plans to reopen Alcatraz. Because apparently, Supermax in Colorado wasn't vintage enough.
We're bringing back Alcatraz, the toughest, the strongest, the most incredible prison. It had Al Capone. It's got rocks, beautiful rocks, and water, very wet water.
Well, let's get one thing straight. Alcatraz hasn't held an inmate since 1963. It's a crumbling island fortress, a historical site protected by the National Park Service. It's where tourists go to pretend they're in a Nicolas Cage movie, not where we stick felons for real. But sure, let's spend billions to revive the ghost of solitary confinement past. What exactly is the plan here? Are we gonna helicopter inmates in, install a Chick-fil-A on the rock, maybe offer season passes for MAGA supporters so they can wave at the bad guys through binoculars from Pier 39? Fun facts, because I did my homework, the buildings are literally falling apart. You can't even sneeze too hard without dislodging 30 years of erosion and probably a lot of asbestos. The plumbing doesn't exist. The electricity, sketchier than your Craigslist roommate. And, oh yeah, the island is protected by law. You can't just slap on a coat of patriotism and call it open for business. But when does that ever stop a Trump headline? I mean, next he'll be pitching a reality show about it.
Survivor Alcatraz. Only the strong and vaguely racist survive.
Look, I get it. Symbolism, law and order. But if you have to exhume the corpse of a prison island to feel in control of a country, maybe the issue isn't crime. Maybe it's your grip on reality. So while we were all trying to enjoy a Wednesday like normal people, President Trump decided to host the president of South Africa and casually accuse his entire country of committing genocide. You know, just your average afternoon in American diplomacy. Yes, genocide against white farmers based on a photo. That wasn't even from South Africa. It was from the Democratic Republic of Congo, which, in case your geography is a little rusty, is in a completely different country. That's like showing someone a picture of a panda and claiming it's Bigfoot. And not just any meeting. This happened in the Oval Office with advisors, cameras, an interpreter, probably praying for the earth to open up and swallow her whole. The president of South Africa, Cyril Ramaphosa, reportedly handled it with more grace than I ever could have imagined. I mean, if someone came into my house waving a mislabeled Google image and shouting genocide, we're either throwing hands or playing trivia night in hell because somebody's dying. Let's break down the absurdity. The claim that there's a secret white genocide happening in South Africa. The evidence? A single photo that was misattributed. The result? Ramaphosa having to explain international race relations to a man who once asked if you could nuke a hurricane. And of course, because nothing is too outlandish for this timeline, the administration then fast-tracked refugee status for 50 Afrikaners. You know, just the 50. As if you could selectively airlift racial trauma. Meanwhile, back at the actual genocide ranch, Trump is gutting protection for Sudanese refugees, slashing immigration numbers for vulnerable global communities, and basically speedrunning a diplomatic faceplant. Oh, and did I mention this strained relations with South Africa so hard, they're now reportedly cozying up with other world powers? Because when you publicly accuse someone's government of ethnic cleansing based on a Facebook propaganda picture, they tend to stop returning your calls. But yes, clearly, this is about protecting people, not, say, scoring political points with the whites are real victims conspiracy crowd. Totally not that. Totally above board. So now we laugh. We rolled our eyes. We called it delusional. But it turns out it's real. Qatar actually did it. They gifted Donald Trump a Boeing 747-8. Yes, as in an entire jet. As in, here, take this airborne mansion and do with it what you will. Democracy will sort itself out, right? According to the Pentagon, who I assume delivered this news while sighing into a whiskey tumbler, this aircraft is a temporary replacement for Air Force One, while the real replacements are still under construction. You know, those two jets Boeing's been building since 2018 that are costing us over $4 billion because apparently it takes that long to make flying tanks with cappuccino machines and bunker busters. Now, technically, this plane came from the Qatar Airways retired fleet, probably the equivalent of a billionaire's gently used Ferrari. But this is still a gift from a foreign government to a sitting president for use as a potential deportation aircraft, I'm assuming, because nothing says, go back to where you came from, quite like flying on a Qatari Airways Boeing 747-8. No red flags there. Totally normal. Not a single whisper of bribery, election interference, or the ghost of the Logan Act. And yes, it's being retrofitted. Because you can't just slap a presidential seal on a Qatari jet and call it a day. It has to be equipped with encrypted military comms, EMP shielding, countermeasures, and probably a button that makes Lindsey Graham cry on command. And while no one's confirmed what exactly the upgrades are, I wouldn't be shocked if Trump tried to add a hot tub and a golf simulator. Maybe a little closet for classified documents. Who knows? So now, somewhere on a runway in America, there's a sparkling Qatari 747-8 being reborn as Trump Force One, which I assume means we're only a few weeks away from gold toilet seats in Fox News broadcasting directly from the in-flight bar. And let's not forget, once again, this is the same man who once suggested nuking a hurricane, stared directly at a solar eclipse, and thinks stealth planes are literally invisible. But sure, give him a supersonic drone and call it a security asset. So we've got the resurrection of Alcatraz, an international incident over a meme, and a gilded campaign jet courtesy of Qatar. At this point, it's either divine comedy or a final chapter of Revelation written by a Florida man with a Wi-Fi connection and an ego problem. How about we dig into the signs? If you'd all turn to the book of You Can't Make This Up. Trump has now promised to reopen Alcatraz, told the president of South Africa that white genocide is happening based on a conspiracy he saw on Twitter, and accepted a foreign 747 as a temporary Air Force One. Even though, again, we already have one. 2, in fact. Actually 3, because there's 2 being built. Add to that the fact that the week this all hit the news, Annabelle went on world tour. A haunted plantation burned down, and blue rain allegedly fell in the Midwest. And people saw a figure walking through smoke like it was the intro to American Horror Story, QAnon edition. Look, I don't believe in coincidences anymore. I believe in chaos with a budget. Because when the man who once Sharpied a hurricane path on a government weather map is suddenly accepting planes from foreign nations and threatening to throw people in a prison island he wants to personally reboot, that's not just a red flag. That's the entire Soviet Union. I guess him and old Vladdy got a plan going on, huh? Somewhere out there, the simulation intern who controls our reality is nervously pressing Control Z and hoping no one notices. And you can feel it, right? Like the universe is trying to send us signals, but it's using Trump's voice as the messenger, and now every warning sounds like it ends with bigly. Let's recap the omens, shall we? A fire at a haunted mansion that had connections to a cursed doll and a demonic lore. Blue rain that nobody could explain, even though it rhymes and sounds good. Prince would be so mad that it wasn't purple, though. Anyways, a private jet gifted from an oil-rich monarchy, retrofitted for a man who can't even spell the word indictment. A prison being resurrected not to fix the justice system, but to cosplay Arkham Asylum. If this isn't the beginning of the end, it definitely is the dress rehearsal. Now, I'm not saying the 4 horsemen are on standby, but I did see a Shetland pony wearing aviators outside a Cracker Barrel, and I'm not ruling anything out. All right, folks, let's take a look at the 5-day forecast for American democracy. Monday, mild gaslighting with scattered tweets. Tuesday, storms of delusion moving in from Mar-a-Lago. Wednesday, a cold front of indictments followed by gusts of denial. Thursday, 87% chance of conspiracy theories with a possible white nationalist undertone. Friday, high pressure system brought on by a president being handed a Qatari jet while planning to reopen Alcatraz like it's the 3rd act of the Nicolas Cage movie. So, bring an umbrella. And maybe a copy of the Constitution, just in case. We're living in an era where every week could be the series finale, but the writers just won't commit. Reality keeps rebooting itself with more plot holes, more absurd side quests, and more Florida headlines than anyone could spiritually handle, even me, and I live here. And the scariest part? None of this is satire anymore. It's just the news. We've crossed the line where parody and politics are now holding hands and skipping towards the apocalypse with an orange tint. But hey, at least we're in it together. Confused, exhausted, holding our emotional support iced coffee while we scream into the void like, wait, didn't we already cancel this show? If this week taught us anything, it's this. The world is not okay. The government might be broken. And if Donald Trump ends up flying around in a Qatari 747-8 with golden upholstery and a karaoke machine, I'm personally unplugging the simulation myself. You guys have a great week. And remember, Do you, but do it with honesty, boundaries, a little bit of grace, and maybe don't accept luxury jets from foreign nations while threatening to reopen ghost prisons. Just a thought. This has been This Week in Trump. We'll see you next time, if reality still exists.
Next week on This Week in Trump. Will Trump launch his new social media app exclusively on fax machines? Will he appoint Kid Rock as the new head of the FBI? Will we finally find out if the Qatari jet runs on crude oil or pure ego? And will Kyle get issued a cease and desist order over this new weekly episode? Tune in next week. Same cult, same chaos.